Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Spiritual sex and candy, yeah.
Hey, sensual souls, welcome to Spiritual Sex and Candy. I am Heather, your Shamanic Sweetener, and we have my illustrious co-host, JP Adkins, our Freedom Jedi.
Hello. How are you doing today, Heather?
I'm doing. Mercury is retrograding for sure, and I'm in cunt mode. Yeah, I'm feeling kind of cunty today.
Awesome. This one's going to be fun. This is going to be a fun show. Makes you feel better. It's been like that all day for me, so I'm definitely in the mood to like punch somebody in the face for no reason.
So y'all may think I don't have a filter, but I really do have a filter most days. Today is not the day for me to have a filter, and so I have only talked to one person all day today and her and I even had a little back and forth at one point. Luckily, we were able to just, she was like, that's not what I meant. And, she knew what kind of mood I was in. But anyway, we are at episode 29, Festive Freedom, creating your own traditions, because we get caught up in what we feel we should do this time of year. But before we get started, of course, I've already triggered someone, I'm sure, in the first two sentences that I said this evening. But if you need to hear this, here is now the time. We are a trigger warning. We talk about all kinds of fucking things, and we like to cuss a lot and say the F word. Fuck is one of my favorite words. So if you are easily triggered, and this could be anything, then it is your time to say goodbye and move on to a different podcast. But we love you, and we hope that you have an amazing day. And let's plug some merch right now. Go to spiritualsexandcandy.com, get your shirts. We have logo shirts. We have all kinds of fun things over there. So holidays, go buy a shirt, go buy a sweatshirt, find something cool. Because
Definitely.
We all have to pay bills. And if you are looking for a gift for someone, you can get Jeff or I's journals. Mine's A Little Time for Peace. At spiritualsexandcandy.com as well. You can hit the link, my link tree.
Pick them up. Mine's there too. Whichever one you pick it. Pick them all. I got books. I have clothes. I have things. I have things.
The bills.
Exactly.
Go help us pay the bills. Go buy a journal. Go buy a book. Go buy some merch. Do something.
You can even book actual sessions with either one of us at Spiritual Sex and Candy.
That is true.
I will give you readings with the pretty cards.
I have 22 decks or some insanity, and some more on their way.
29, 83, whatever.
I don't know. I have a bunch. But we're going to talk about holiday traditions today because it is that time of year.
Yeah.
Right? The holidays are upon us. It is days away. We're like at 2 weeks or something like that, a little over 2 weeks. I don't know. I don't even know what day it is because I'm not really celebrating this year.
We have 15 days until Christmas.
15 days. There you go.
15 days. So just over 2 weeks.
Yeah. Are you ready?
Like I can't.
He doesn't even have a response for that.
I can't. Like, all right, guys. So I'm gonna be like completely authentic with you. A couple weeks ago, Heather was having a breakdown week. I am having a complete breakdown week. There is not a space in my life that has not been affected in the last week or so. And today was the straw, so I'm not okay. And I'm just going to declare I'm not okay. Just call it as it is. Try not to, like, I'm not trying to be there, guys, but I'm not okay. And it would not be authentic of me trying to be. It's just been that, yeah.
It's okay to not be okay.
And it is okay to not be okay. And I try really hard to, even when I'm not okay, not to, like, to try to stay in a space where it's at least productive. Today is one of those days that I can't even. So, if you guys don't know, I was supposed to be in Arkansas right now. Had some issues with the RV. Still can't figure out what the fuck it is. I'm here. I will probably be here through Christmas now, which changes absolutely everything, because now my traditions go back into place, and that means I'm with my big family, and I'm going to do and I don't, and before you hear this as I don't want to be, I would want to be with my family if I'm here. That's one of the reasons why I'm not rushing out either,
Right.
Because I do like my family. I do like the big family things for the most part. The holiday traditions, they do mean something to me, and it's really nice when we can all get together.
Yeah.
So before this comes off as I don't want to be around my family, what the hell? No, I really do want to be around my family.
But that wasn't what your plan was.
But that wasn't my plan. So now I have to retool everything, and it means it's a different expectation. It's a different situation.
You didn't put any expectations on it.
That would be lovely, but unfortunately, that's not how it really fucking works, and you know that. Well, not necessarily.
But to a degree, it can work that way. I mean, because when you don't set super high expectations, you're not like, because I was talking about this earlier with a friend of mine, where we were talking about going on trips, and she got invited to go on a trip, and she said, I'm not really ready to do that right now, and the trip sounds amazing, except for that the people that are going do all this adventurous things, and they like to go do daredevil-y things and whatever it is, that she's like, I don't want to do that. And I remember when I'm a recovering control freak, and I would like have a whole expectation of what the weekend was going to entail and how my day was going to go. And then when that didn't happen, I was pissed off. I was fucking irritated. I let it ruin my whole day, maybe my whole weekend, my whole week, whatever it was. And then I just learned that, like, yes, you should have a plan, but you always, and this is coming from a neurospicy, to say it's okay if that plan varies. It's hard work to do that, though.
The for me, the thing is that it's now I'm here. So there's expectations for dinner. There's expectations, like, and not that, again, nothing that I wouldn't want to do, guys. So, but it's different.
So then you're choosing to do it, and that takes away from it being an expectation of you. Because you could, at the end of the day, say, I'm going to come over for an hour. I'm not up to doing that, and not do it.
But
right? That might be someone else's expectation of what they want you to do. But that's you taking on someone else's expectations.
But that is the fact that one of the reasons I'm here, because this isn't running, so I have no vehicle.
Right.
So I'm now at the mercy of all that is. You know what I mean? And
right, but that's kind of what we're talking about today, right? Is creating what we want out of the holidays, right?
Yeah. And I have my own traditions that don't include my family. For instance, guys, if you guys haven't figured it out, I'm a Jedi cleric. I'm not fucking Christian. So Christmas itself is not part of mine, but I grew up with it. My whole family celebrates it. I enjoy spending time with my family in this time, but it's not. And I used to give out cards about why Christmas is Christmas, and all that kind of stuff. And like, I'm done with that too. Like, You know what I mean? Uh, when the one was Horus is the reason for the season. Seems how
Right.
Horus, like almost the whole Jesus myth, is stolen directly from, ancient Egyptians. But I'm not even gonna go all there with you guys. For mine, what I celebrate is the winter solstice,
Yeah,
and
I do
it's
too.
the natural holiday, right? And so at midnight, I light a candle and have for years. Um,
Yeah.
and that's my personal celebration of this holiday. You know,
Yeah, so I of course growing up we celebrated Christmas, but as we got older, so for my daughter and I, we because we had so many other things going on throughout the actual holiday, we did celebrate on winter solstice for many reasons, but part of it was because it was our own time to be with each other
hmm
and have our own things. Um, and then, like, when I'm in Vegas, there's one of my bestest friends in the whole world has a party on the 23rd. That's literally the name of it, the party on the 23rd, where hundreds of people show up at her house and everyone's welcome. And we have this big, huge holiday party. And then when my daughter was growing up for a while, we had people, we would like party hop on the 24th and go to her godmother's family's house and, another Christmas party. And we would just kind of party hop for the whole day. And then on Christmas Day, it was with my dad and my sister and stuff like that.
yeah. Growing up, we went to my grandmother's on my dad's side up until that was no longer an option.
Yeah.
Um, on the 24th, again, huge family in little places. Don't know how we did this. Still don't
Right.
know how we did this. Like, logistically, this does not work. She had 6 kids,
Right.
and variant. I, I'm one of like probably 30. I'm probably one of 30 cousins. Like,
Yeah.
there's a ton. There's a shit ton of us.
Which is
On
so
the
funny because I'm the complete opposite.
right, and on my mom's side, it's pretty low. My
Yeah.
my grandmother had 6 kids, but none of her kids had kids except my mom.
Oh,
So my
well, that says something.
my aunt had two. Right, my aunt had two. My uncle had one and adopt. It had a stepson, and his other son died. So there's this big huge void on that side, and then
Right.
my other uncle had one, and then my third uncle had one, and she died, and they're both dead now. But
Well, we lived apart from my whole family. So
yeah,
regardless, like sometimes when my aunt lived in Vegas, she would come, my dad's sister, she would come over, and we would spend the holidays with her, but it was just us. And so when I was little, one of my favorite traditions that we did was we got to open a present on Christmas Eve, and it was always pajamas. We always got jammies on Christmas Eve. Imagine that. And when we were little, they were from our great grandparents because that was kind of her tradition. And she would send money, and then my mom would go pick
hmm
us out pajamas with that money. When I had my daughter, I switched it up. I did pajamas for years, and then I switched it up and made a movie night. So a pair of pajamas, a movie, popcorn, hot chocolate, and a candy, which my kids adopted for my grandkids.
I love it.
So that's really fun. Yeah, my
For
mom always
years,
made blueberry muffins on Christmas morning, and then we started taking them to the neighbors and our friends in the neighborhood. So then that became one of their traditions was to get blueberry muffins on Christmas morning.
I mom worked Christmas often. She worked in a restaurant, and they closed at like 2. So they would do like breakfast and lunch and then close. So like there wasn't that. Like a lot of times it was, as I talk a lot about being a very responsible 16-year-old. I was a much more responsible 16-year-old than I am a 46-year-old, 47-year-old. To the point where I can actually remember my age at 16. But it was definitely, I would be helping with dinner.
We helped with dinner from, I mean, as a teenager, we ended up doing the cooking. My dad was a shift worker. My mom was sick when we were teenagers. And even when we were little, my dad was a shift worker. So our Christmas morning was around whatever shift he was working.
Yeah.
So, like we lucked out if he was on like graveyards because he would come home at 7 in the morning and then we would open presents and do our thing. And then he would go to bed and we
Yeah.
would play and be quiet and cook dinner all day. And then when he got up was dinner time. But as soon as we could start cooking, we cooked. And we did, and at the end of the day, when we were teenagers, we were doing all of those things.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was definitely it's kind of a joke now because my sister Rachel cooks a lot of the meal now.
Yeah.
And up until probably 5 years ago, she didn't cook unless it was out of a box or a bag. So
Oh,
we used to joke about it. Like it used to be the joke, if you can't microwave it, Rachel's not cooking it. And now she primarily cooks most of our holiday meals.
well, that's
Um,
nice.
It is. I have a really great family in a lot of ways. Like I can't express that enough. Of course, we're a family and we're a large family and we're siblings and we do, there's a lot of
Yeah.
things. For every positive thing, I could probably say a negative thing too. Like, because we're there and I'm here in this, where I am at this moment, I'm kind of in an epicenter of things. So I can say a lot of things about a lot of people. So,
Which is not what we're doing today.
which is not what we're doing today. It really is. So it's kind of odd. We would get up. I'm trying to remember as kids, like for a while after we didn't do my grandmother's, we would open something. We would get to and we would get our stocking on Christmas Eve, so we can actually go into our stocking.
So that was the thing. My mom was good at this. So, that was the other thing. You know how people get oranges or apples like in their stockings? We didn't get that, by the way.
No, we didn't either.
We got some really cool stuff in our stockings though, but we also got a little box of cereal. So remember, you could get the individual cereals. So we got a little box of cereal in ours so that we could eat that cereal and shut the fuck up until she had coffee and was in the mood to make breakfast, right? So like the whole idea was for us to be able to eat our little box of cereal and let us open gifts and but we could open our stocking in the morning before we woke up our parents. And
Yeah.
that gave us like the first thing we did was open stockings so they could wake up and have get their coffee going and things like that. And then we would do presents. But my daughter and I one year, because I was a single mom for her whole life, and um one year like we went to it wasn't a food bank, but we went to this event that helped out families, right? And they had they gave you a whole Christmas dinner, so like all the stuff to make dinner, and then you got to go to different tables and pick out like a blanket and they had little nail polish, just like stuff for people that to help out for the holidays. And so we got all this stuff, but that was like all we had. We had just moved. I had just started working. I think I got one paycheck before Christmas. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the only thing in the house for dinner for Christmas Eve was the stuff to make spaghetti. Like because it was dirt cheap, right? And I could make a lot of it. And so I made spaghetti for Christmas Eve dinner. And My daughter was so in love with it that she goes, "That is now our tradition. We have to have spaghetti on Christmas Eve." I had another friend who, when they were little, similar thing, but it was fried rice.
Okay.
And then Santa always stepped in the rice. So, like, her parents would, Santa would hide certain gifts around the house, and you had to follow Santa's rice boot around the house, right? So he
Okay.
stepped in the rice by accident, and so there always had to be a little bit of fried rice left so that Santa could step in it and make a mess throughout the house, and the kids thought it was hilarious.
That is really cool. I'm sitting here trying to think the logistics of that. Like,
Right? Well, like one year they all got, and there was 8 kids, so I mean, um, there was mittens everywhere, and so they had to like find all the mittens and then trade so that everyone got a pair of mittens.
that's really cool. I had mom always gave us watches. We got watches a lot. Like it was kind of funny. Like it was one of those things that we would get a watch like at Easter and at Christmas because
Oh,
like we'd get watch and not necessarily nice ones, but the $20 Kmart
right,
watch, right? 15.99, 10.99, $20. We were kids. We didn't need a nice watch.
right.
And then we did get a nice one like when we turned like 15 or 16. We got a nice watch, but watches don't work for me. I can't wear them. I really can't. It doesn't matter if they're digital or analog. They stop.
Fry 'em.
Yeah, they just stop.
My I break them too. So when I was working in the medical field and had to wear a watch all the time, right? I would put it in my scrub pocket
I was like,
and pull it out to use it and stick it back in there because if not, yeah, I mean, mine would implode. They would,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Mine don't implode. They just stop, and then I look at it, and they're like, I bought you an analog watch with gears. All you had to do is wind this every 6 months, and you're stopped. How did you do this? And I'm like, I don't
bending
know.
time,
I bend time.
bending time.
Uh, I also get sick when we had the earthquake. I get nauseous.
Oh yeah,
So if there's a big earthquake, I just get nauseous, and then later I'll hear, oh, there was an earthquake. I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I was sick all day. Okay.
right.
I'm aligned to the geomagnetic pull of the Earth. I don't know.
Oh.
Well,
So
duh.
I had to look up some fun traditions that happen all over the world because, why wouldn't we do this? Um, and so some of my favorite ones are in Oaxaca, Mexico. I know I'm pronouncing that wrong. Don't come at me. They have a night of radishes. There's a whole festival of radishes, and artists like create and carve radishes and create art out of radishes, and they have a whole night dedicated to it. Japan, this is my second favorite is Japan. Japan has KFC for Christmas. So
Yes.
KFC did this whole thing back in the 70s where they had a whole campaign in Japan, and now like 3.2 billion people eat KFC for Christmas Eve dinner.
Hmm.
And you have to put your order in months in advance if you want the bucket, and it comes with like cake and champagne.
Yeah. It's kind of like here in the U.S. where you go to if you mess up your Christmas dinner, you go and do Chinese because
Right.
they're always open. KFC is
Yeah.
like that there, and it's I remember reading about that when I worked for actual Yum Brands, um, and how that is one of their biggest nights of the year.
My second favorite was in Catalonia, Spain, and it's called the pooping log. It's translated into um it's a hollowed out log. They started on December 8th. They hollow out this big log. They put legs, a face, and a red hat on the log, and then every day they put candy and presents inside the log, the hollowed out part of the log. And on the, I believe it's on Christmas Eve, they place the log in an unlit fire and they all beat on the log, telling it to defecate the presents out. And they cover the log to keep it warm, by the way, with a blanket. And so they beat the log, and then someone reaches inside the log and pulls all the presents out.
So someone has to make it poop.
Yeah.
That's so sad.
The whole goal is to make the log, yes, defecate. And they like yell at it as they're banging on it and sing traditional songs and yell at it to defecate the presents and the candy out of the log. And then we have good old Krampus, of course, if you don't know about Krampus.
Yeah.
Germany, Australia, Hungary. Krampus comes in, punishes all the naughty kids, right? Santa brings you presents to all the good kids, and Krampus comes and punishes all the naughty kids.
And Krampus comes earlier. Krampus Day was like 2 days. Like I want to say it's like the 8th or something.
Yeah, it was recently. Norway has a
Yeah.
whole, I think it was Norway I saw where they had a whole Krampus parade, which I thought was really kind of cool. Right?
We have something in Detroit, the Naird. I want to call it the Naird. And it's at one point I knew all of the lore around it, but it's the spirits, the Detroit spirit
Oh.
for Christmas, and there's a parade and there's everything for it.
My dad was Irish, and we were taught about the Belschnickel, and the Belschnickel is one of Santa's elves. And if you're good up until Christmas and you start being naughty after Christmas, the Belschnickel comes and takes all your presents back.
That's a new one. You know, that's
And my dad would be like, better be good or the Belschnickel's going to come take your presents away.
I like it.
So it's for the kids that are naughty after Christmas because they think, well, now I have the gifts, I don't have to be nice anymore. The Belschnickel comes and takes your... takes all
You
the
know,
gifts away.
it kind of goes with the elf on the shelf idea. You know,
Well, Elf on a Shelf is a bad guy who, like, does naughty things.
he does.
I don't even get, like, the whole Elf on the Shelf thing because, like, you see the stuff that the Elf on a Shelf does and, like, it's all mischievous, naughty things.
Yeah, he's. You know, it's.
He's not watching anyone to report back to Santa.
He's supposed to be, but see, you get bored, and you gotta figure out where. I mean, how many times can you move it from one shelf to another shelf into the tree, into this, and you know that you have to have them do things because, you know, that's where the fun comes in, and we only see, and you have to remember that we're only seeing the good ones. You know, the ones that people are posted because they're like creative and.
Yeah, but some of this, no.
Oh, I've seen.
I would
have you-
never want my kid to, like, even remotely get that idea about, you know.
My friend Patty
But my
had.
kid would have been creeped out by that. So there's that part.
Yeah, Patty, Patricia Logan. She's an author. She's an amazing author. She's published 80 some odd books. Go and see her, and she has a whole collection. So all December, it's all the Elf on the Shelves, all the crazy ones. And one of my favorites is Elf on the Shelf with Barbie. And
Yeah.
like it looks like they're both smoking in bed. It's kind of funny.
Yeah.
It's one of the ones that sticks
now
in my
they
head
have
from that.
Snoop on the
She has all
stoop.
kinds though.
You can get Snoop on a stoop. Snoop Dogg smoking a blunt.
As he
A
should.
friend of mine has a couple of those. And now there's Martha.
Right.
Now you can get Martha Stewart to go with Snoop.
Because you know,
They're besties. They really are. They're actually really good friends.
that would be a good thing.
They're besties.
They are.
They really are. They're Yeah. actually really good friends.
It was. Did you see uh, the Netflix did a really good um documentary about her, about Martha,
No,
and
I have not
it's
seen
actually a
it.
really interesting documentary.
Okay.
You should. But they talks about how that happened. Was
Oh yeah. I mean I've seen the
after
story
she went to,
behind. Yeah.
so it was fun. It was a good one.
Right on. So what other fun holiday? Now that I think about it, we had quite a few. Well, I guess my mom was really into like all of the things. So we had a spider in our tree. Last year I made spiders for friends of mine. And um that's where tinsel comes from, so the story of tinsel. And it the Ukraine specifically is a spider web in the tree, but the story is about, a poor widow who didn't have much, and they grew so they grew their Christmas tree from a pine cone. And when they brought it in, they didn't have any money for decorations. Like, they didn't have any decorations or anything. They were really poor. And there was a spider living in the tree, and the spider spun beautiful webs all over the tree. And in the morning, when the sun came through, they all turned to silver and gold. And that's where the tradition of tinsel comes in. And so it's a sign of prosperity and protection and abundance, in bringing abundance into your house. So we always had a spider on our tree. And in the Ukraine, they put an actual spider, like, a spider web ornament on the tree.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Eddie, when I moved in with Eddie, he had a bunch of stuff from his grandmother and things that he's collected over the years. And we
Yeah.
did a really beautiful silver and gold tree. I'll never forget this. Um, it was one of my favorite things. And we had this garland. It was this silver and gold garland, beaded garland, that was so friggin' gorgeous. We were going to use it in our hand fasting for our wedding because it was just that pretty. And we wrapped it with the veil of his mom's wedding dress,
Oh, how beautiful.
and it was on our tree like that. And it really was like one of those really gorgeous moments.
Yeah.
And just recently, I saw later, um, a couple years after the flood, because there was a flood that flooded out our whole basement. We lost all pretty much everything, um,
Yeah.
like that. And we had this. I had this beautiful apartment with this really great fireplace, and my Christmas tree was right there. And I had a really pretty tree that year too, but it was all new stuff that we had bought, and some of
Yeah.
it we had made because at that moment I was crafty because I was a 50s housewife. It was really weird. Um, and that was a really good year for me. That's when I started using baked goods as Christmas gifts.
I remember the first Christmas tree that I got when my daughter was little, and it was the first time we had had a house by ourselves. Like, it was just the two of us in this little house, and this house was like 900 square feet. It was not big. Like, two little room, it was perfect for the two of us. And I bought such a big Christmas tree. I bought a real tree because for years we had a fake tree. When I was little, we had a real tree, and then my parents, like, my mom went and spent the money to get a really nice fake tree. So, like, it didn't look like a fake tree, but it still was. And so I was like, I'm having a real tree, and this tree was so big that it probably took about a third of my living room. It was so big. And so growing up, every year we got an ornament. When we were younger, my grandfather would make the ornament and my grandma would paint it. And the idea was when we moved out that we would then have our own set of ornaments, so we each had a box of ornaments when we moved out. which I believe mine are still in the storage unit. Like, luckily, something that made it through all of my moves and all the things. Um, but that was super fun because and then I tried to do that with my daughter, but I'm horrible about things like that. I know that sounds really bad, but like I am really bad about being consistent on things like that. So I would always like remember at the last minute and then not be able to not be able to find one that would be meaningful, then it's just yeah. But I guess we did have like just a
Yeah, I
lot
mean,
of
and it's
little
so
traditions growing
difficult.
up.
When I was younger, we made a lot of ornaments. Like when I was little. Like I
Yeah.
remember doing the whole paper chains and the popcorn and the cranberry and did that whole
I
thing
still did that
for a
last
few
year.
years. Yeah,
Last year I
yeah, we
strung
didn't.
popcorn and cranberries. That's one of my favorite garlands because then you can put it outside for the birds.
Yeah, I used to love making the chains. I used to make those chains all the time though. Like I'd make paper chains just because wanted to make a paper chain and I had construction paper, and would literally like do a crap ton of them, hang them all over the place. I was weird like that.
My mom was crafty, so I remember making candle holders with like mixed nuts and hot gluing them to a piece of cardboard and then with a cheap candle pillar or
Tea light.
taper a taper candle holder in it. um so we did that. We made ornaments out of walnut shells one year where we made little cradles and put a baby in it for baby Jesus. um Gluing them back together and making strawberries out of them. We had Christmas trees made out of bottle caps and felt.
My sister's crafty. My sister Kim is crafty, and every year she does something with all the kids.
I mean,
So
I have stepped into my craftiness over the years because I used to think I wasn't creative because my mom was I mean, she was the ADD crafter, don't get me wrong, but she could bead, she could embroider, she could knit, she could crochet. She was a pretty decent seamstress. But she would get in these like, I'm gonna make thimble dolls and then or spool dolls, and then she would make spool dolls for everyone, and then it was whatever it was. And I thought, for years I'm like, I'm not crafty. Like, you know what? I can sew. I am pretty crafty. I don't do bad when I want to paint something, though I'm not like fucking Bob Ross. I'm not making, I'm not doing like,
no happy little trees.
no, I'm not doing happy little trees. But I don't do too bad when I want to sit down and do something. Um, and so yeah, I've done that with my grandkids before, painted ornaments, make homemade ornaments. Does anyone have any food traditions? That would like I want to hear about the food.
Yeah.
Did you guys do prime rib or
Our
anything
family
different?
holidays. No, the one year. So I hosted 2 years at the Detroit house. I again, when I was a 50s house, right before I was a 50s housewife, I started hosting dinner parties. Um, out of the blue, like here we go. I had the best space for a minute, for our family, and one year I said I'm not doing ham and turkey. I'm doing something different, and we did
Blasphemy.
a pork butt and a prime rib.
There you
And
go.
it was fucking delicious. Delicious. But for my family, it just isn't cost effective. Like, it was a nice splurge, and I was making really good money, and it got a really good bonus, and could do a prime rib for 35 people.
Right.
I can't do that. I can't
Right.
do that
I know
anymore.
people who have prime rib.
Um,
I hear Italians that
what?
a lot of Italians do
So that was a
like
really cool year.
pasta. I know people who have prime rib. I hear Italians that a lot of Italians do like pasta.
I was just talking about. Mama Favor was just talking about the Feast of the Seven Fishes for Christmas Eve, and Mike is making it this year for the first time.
Oh,
And I was like, I thought that was just a myth. But yeah, they're
Feast of
doing the
Seven
Feast of the Seven
Fishes?
Fishes. Uh,
Feast of Seven Fishes.
yeah, so this is an Italian thing, and basically it's like 7 different versions of fish. And like there's
Okay.
7 courses, and all of them have fish somehow. Um, and yeah, it's
I don't know how I feel about that. I
It
like fish,
is-
and I don't know how I feel about that. I like fish, and I don't know how I feel about that.
it looks complicated as fuck. To be honest with you.
Fair enough.
Like, I've
Fair
seen
enough.
it on TV a couple times, and it's one of those things that, like, it looks like it's complicated. It might not be,
Yeah.
let's face it. But thinking about seafood and how temperamental it is, and doing 7 courses with it, and timing 7 courses so that the fish is at the right everything,
Right.
seems like too much. And the
I
thought of
don't
that
think
scares
I
me.
would. No thanks.
If
I mean,
you
and I
do
like
it,
the whole cooking thing. I don't mind cooking all day. I kind of miss like the relish trays and and just kind of munching throughout the day and then having a big dinner, and I kind of miss that.
I used to love when Eddie and I were together, because we would do his family for brunch and then my family for dinner.
There
Okay,
you go.
his family brunch was amazing. All adults for the most part, except the one kid who was quiet and creepy and like he's going to take over the world. He should be in college by now. Like,
He is taking over the world.
he is taking over the world, and he might be running AI. Who knows? He might have invented it. This kid is just that friggin' smart, right? And but he would be like building something every year. He was like 12 and silent, and he wasn't mute or anything. He would talk if you talked to him, but he would not, like, he was really quiet.
He was an only
said
child, and he knew how to entertain himself. And
Well, he
they
was
gave him
young.
a project that he could hyper focus on, and
Yep, he was
shut the fuck up and did his project.
he was the only child from the new marriage, so his his brothers were both older. So, and they would show up in varying degrees at this too. One would show up, or the other one would show up, or once in a while. We only had both of them there once. And there was wine, and there was Irish coffee, and there was champagne and mimosas, and there was, like, it was a very different feel. And
That
you
sounds
sat at
like my kind of Christmas.
right, and you sat at the family dinner. You sat at a table, and and his sister used to make these cheesy potatoes that I had never had. I know I'm from Michigan, and I should have had them years and years and years and 100 years ago, but no one around me ever made cheesy potatoes until then. And I love them. I love them with a passion of like 1,000 suns. I
What
love
kind of
cheesy potatoes.
potatoes is this?
They're hash browns, and
Oh, with soup, with a can of soup and sour cream and a
And
bunch
sour-
of cheese.
about the
We call them
cheese.
Mormon potatoes on the West Coast.
Basically, that's the
They're
idea, right? The Mormon potatoes, and they're freaking
My
phenomenal.
stepmom made those. The first time I ever had them, I was like,
Right. So she would make me and her daughter an extra pan to take home,
yum.
a 9x9, just to take home.
Yeah.
And so we had this like really nice, beautiful brunch, family time, family space. It was beautiful. And then we went to my family chaos.
Yeah.
And with everybody and the loudness and the craziness and all the kids and people running and everything else. And it was like night and day of the two different extremes of what this looks like. And then Eddie and I would come back, and so the tradition was after everybody left, or the years that we hosted, or we would come home and we would have a glass of wine together and just sit and chill and like have Christmas music playing. When we were in Ferndale, we had the fire going, and just had that.
We're like, I want to go on trips for Christmas.
I tried to get us to go to Dollywood one year, like my whole family.
That would be fantastic.
Yeah, because honestly, for what we were spending on a hall and all the food and all the craziness, we could have went to Dollywood.
Yeah.
It's really not that expensive for all of us. And there was, the cabin was for 30, I think. So we even had a little bit extra.
Well, the likelihood of me getting all my children in one place to have a family holiday is, I'm gonna have to hit the lotto or something and just demand and pay for a shit ton of plane tickets for everyone to be there. That's how that would end up working, because that would be the only way that I would get them all in one spot. But it would be great. But yeah, I'm to the point now where like this year I'm not doing anything. We're not decorating. My friends that I stay with are going out of town. They're going to spend time with their family. It's going to be me and the dog, which is a tad depressing for me. I'm not going to lie. And like they don't decorate because they go out of town, and so I'm not decorating for myself. I'm just not. It's just, if they were all into it and wanted to decorate anyway, like I would be totally down. But they have, yeah. So I'm not doing anything this year, which is kind of, I don't know how I feel about that. Sometimes it makes me cry to think about it.
Yeah. I thought about decorating, and then I'm like, what I miss? There was one piece that might be on my mom's. So when we're at Christmas this year, maybe Christmas is at mom's, I think, this year. So while we're there, I might see if I see it. But there was one piece, and it was this like starburst thing that Eddie's grandmother made. She was crafty. She was like one of those super crafty people, and it used to hang on my fireplace so it survived the flood, because it was just this pretty like almost Art Deco piece. And if I had that, or if I remade that, like I could remake it in logistically, or said to my sister, this is what I want for Christmas, and have her remake it, because it's glitter and I don't want glitter in my RV.
Why not?
It's raw glitter too. Yeah.
Why not?
Because you can't, using glitter is horrible.
Craft herpes.
Raw glitter, like, yeah, no.
It's craft herpes.
Exactly.
You would be pulling.
I'm in a new rig, and I still find sand in a whole different rig from when I was on the beach for a month. I will pull something and there'll be sand in a corner, and I'm like, I have not been on the beach on this thing. I haven't.
That's funny.
It's really crazy. I don't want glitter that way. I avoid it.
I thought about getting a tree and putting it, like a little fake one, and putting it back here in the corner behind me. But that probably won't happen either. I'm just not very, and I love Christmas movies, so I've been watching Christmas movies since Hallmark started putting out the Christmas movies, and then some. Like I love Hallmark, and Lifetime Christmas movies. I love them, and then I watch all the traditional ones too. But it's funny. I don't watch all
still
of them.
haven't. I finally saw.
I'm not a Home Alone fan. So I don't watch the Home Alone movies. I know someone out there is going to have my head for this. I do not like National Lampoons. And A Christmas Story is not my favorite either. I know. I know. I'm just not a fan of those.
Oh my goodness.
So I'm like, I'm a White
Uh,
Christmas. I
so
like the Santa Claus movies. Um, Polar Express. Red One is now on my top of Christmas movies, by the way. If you have
I
not
finally
seen
saw
it,
Polar.
you need to go see it. Jeff and I went and saw it this last weekend, just 2 different days. Like back to back, wasn't it? It was like you went one day and I went the next day or something like that.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I think I went Monday and you went Tuesday.
no, I
Yeah,
went no, I went Friday.
because you
So
were going
a
back and
week
forth between
apart.
Wicked and Red One.
Yeah. And we ended up
Okay.
seeing Red One and it was
And you had
a
said
new
you were
fave.
like, I, by the way, Wicked is just as good. Don't skip on Wicked either. But Red One is, you want to see both those movies in the theater. You want to. They're
It was
both
yeah, it was
that good.
fantastic.
Even if you have to go on Tuesday.
Yeah, so I'm a big like Christmas movie fan, which is probably what I'll do this year. And it's kind of going to be cool because I've already been thinking about like what do I want to eat that day? Because the only person I have to cook for is me. So I can make
Hmm.
whatever the fuck I want to eat. And that just sounds so amazing.
Or you can do Peking duck.
Or I could order Chinese.
Yeah. I If I was doing what I was going to do, that's what I was going to do. Is I was going to do Chinese. If I was going to be by myself, um, there were
But I
there
don't
was a.
cook fancy for myself. So I'm down to make a shrimp dish or a salmon dish or, you know,
I
something
might
along those lines.
I might have bought a roast and did kind of a prime rib with a roast. Um, if I was if I saw one that made me think of that. Um,
Right.
but really, I was thinking I was going to go and do Chinese and just do that whole kind of tongue-in-cheek kind of thing for
Yeah.
Christmas. Because I've never done it because I've always had the big, huge family to do.
Yeah.
So, like, that was kind of like one of those fun things. And I've never
That
had
would be
Peking duck.
funny.
Um,
That would be funny.
and
I could
then
order Chinese.
the other thing was, if the plan worked the way it was supposed to work, I would have been on the West Coast, and I would have been Patty, who I would talk about earlier. I would have
Yeah.
been at her family's and did a Persian Christmas,
Ooh, that would be
which
interesting. That would be super fun.
yeah, yeah. Her menu is kind of traditional with some Persian accents,
That would be
so
amazing.
it's kind of cool.
How fun is that?
Um, it's kind of funny. It reminds me of my aunts. When one year when I was in Philadelphia, my aunt, was at my aunt's for Christmas, and she did Italian, like an Italian Christmas, and there was pasta, and there was it was the first time I had a caprese salad, and
Those are amazing. I can't do fresh
it was
tomatoes
delicious. It
anymore.
was just
I'm
amazing.
sad about it, but
Just one of those weird.
my new allergy
I don't
to
know.
tomatoes
I mean,
makes me
I
sad.
guess I don't have to worry about it. I'm going to be doing big family, and
So I was talking to my Italian
you
friend
have an
today,
allergy to
and
tomatoes?
she's making some kind of clams that sounded amazing. She talked about like an antipesto, but only her and her mom eat that. And so, like, they're trying to scale back because they usually have a bunch of people and they're just not going to. She's Italian and Irish. Um, but they're only going to have like 5 or 6 people this year. So she was talking about all the different things. And I was like, I want to come eat clams. I don't even care what kind they are. Like, anything you make with those sounds amazing. You know what I mean? I'm like, yes, please. Can I come? You know,
It might be time for me to make a big pot of Monsignor.
what's
It's the
that?
only time I like seafood. There is, it is basically a Italian seafood soup,
Okay.
and it has whatever you can find. Actually, it's one of those throw it all in, but it needs clam juice. It needs it could be lobster, or it could be crab meat, imitation crab meat. It could be pretty much anything, with an olive oil and tomatoes and basil and
That sounds
garlic and
scrumptious.
spaghetti noodles. It it is stupid good, and I'm due. I haven't made it in a couple years, but
I
it's one
love
of those
seafood.
things you have to make a big pot because everything in there.
Yeah,
I
I'm a huge
don't.
seafood fan. So
I
I like
typically don't
seafood.
like it. This is one of the few times that I'm like, yeah. When I see you, remind me. I'll make some Monsignor.
I'm
And it's
down.
an
I always
expensive
like to
meal.
try new things.
It's like a. It's like one of those meals that you can't do on the cheap, and it's a big pot, and I mean it's gonna feed everybody, but
Right,
but you can't make it for me. Yeah.
right.
So
So, you guys, if you struggle with
I
stressing
don't
out
even know
over
if I
the
have a pot big enough for
holidays
it.
and you are tired of doing the traditions that come up in your family or the things, you get to create whatever kind of traditions that you want. Make new traditions, start something new this year. Maybe it's not to give a lot of presents and
Hmm.
stress yourself out over buying 100 different people something, or maybe it's to make a homemade ornament for people and spend the day doing that. um, but do whatever makes you less stressed, and make sure that you take time throughout this holiday season for yourself.
That's what's really important. Take
Yeah.
the time for you.
Yes. All right, my
What
card for
makes you
today is letting
happy?
go. Everything in this is perfect. Everything is
Oh,
indeed
I'm
out of
sorry.
control, and God will hold it all. I can safely let go. The more that we try to control things, the more chaotic things are. That was a huge lesson that I had to learn, and it was so true. When I gave up trying to control every little bit of everything, my life became much less chaotic. Down to when you go to the store during this holiday time, let go of the expectation that you're going to be in and out of there, or that you're in a hurry, and just take your
No.
time and know that there's going to be something that comes up. There's going to be a lot of people. And people are frustrated and all those things and are in a hurry. If you're not in a hurry, it won't bother you. So let go of all those expectations that you have for this year and just enjoy yourself.
I love it. I love it. And mine, Nine of Swords. So Nine of Swords is all about the thing that comes to mind all the time when I think of Nine of Swords. It's don't cry over spilled milk. Yeah, I know. I flipped myself off too. Um, I love when the universe decides that today is the day that they're gonna pick on me too. Um, but it's your mind. You're stressing. You're going all over the place. And who is it on the holidays? I mean, if you're not having some kind of you know thing, just know that it's coming. Um, no, I will not put that out there in the universe like that. But typically, with especially with people that are following more traditional paths, there's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of expectations. There's a lot of all of it. Fuck it all. Take what you can and just breathe through it all. It's all gonna work out one way or the other. It doesn't
Yeah.
friggin' matter, you know. So just find your joy, find what pleases you, and go with the flow.
I love it.
Ooh.
Go
All
check
right,
out spiritualsexycandy.com. Thanks for listening, and we hope that you have an amazing, amazing holiday season.
Love you guys.
Everyone here at the True Awesome Network asks you to please subscribe, like, comment, and spread awesome.